Valley Campers live with me, Leigh, in my garage at home in East Sussex, and we are still restoring the 1969 VW Bay. Now, for those of you who are regular watchers, yes, my beard's gone. Little story about that later. I'm sure people are going to be asking me about that later, but I will be telling all. So if you've watched this channel before, and more specifically if you've watched this live before regarding this car and this bay in this garage, I have slowly been restoring it into hopefully what is going to be my new project camper, or my new drivable camper. And what you're looking at is a van that was pulled out of a scrapyard, from what I can tell, in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, America. And it looked pretty much like how I got it, in this weird two-tone paintwork. And as you can see, a lot of this paintwork is hand painted, very patinaed, very poorly. But what my hope is today on the channel is that I can take you through the different steps of how I can turn it from this paint stained, nasty, hand painted into what is basically the original paint. Now, I've already done one half of the bus, and then I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to turn the bus round in the garage, because as you can see, I don't have a lot of room in here. That's one side of the wall, or that's one side of the garage, and this is the other side of the garage. And so this is all the room I have, so I can only effectively work on one side of a bus at a time. And what you're seeing now is obviously a mirror image. This is a left-hand drive vehicle. This is the driver's side, or in the UK, this is the near side. So sliding doors over there, this is the near side. And what you're looking at is a flipped image. So what do we do? What are we going to be using to flip this paintwork from what you see here into nice, clean, original paint? What I'm going to be using is a couple of products. The first is CLR, excuse me. CLR, this is calcium lime and rust remover, and what I'm going to be doing is concentrating on an area, and I'll concentrate on this area here because that's what I have in shot. I'm going to concentrate on this area. I'm going to use Scotch-Brite, and this is just regular green Scotch-Brite. But what I've done is gone onto the likes of Amazon and bought a massive roll of it. Not just the little squares, but a massive, massive roll of it. So I'm going to cut that into little squares, put the CLR, calcium lime rust remover, into a little pot, and I'm just going to start concentrating on this area here so you can see what we're doing. And then by the end of the video, I should have like a 500 by 500 square of original paint. And then if we get the right time, we can then buff that back up to like original shiny paint. I have done it before on a live, but a lot of it I've done off camera. So what I'm hoping to do is do this on camera now. So already we have our first comment, and if you're watching this and you like what you're seeing, please make yourself known, and please make yourself known down in the comments. We've had dubs in so far. It says, "Evening, Leigh. Hope you're all well and had a good week." Had a very good week. Thank you very much, my man. And if you are liking what you're seeing, or you want to see me progress more, please hit the like button, or tap the screen right here 3 times, I think, or double tap the screen, and then you can give this video a thumbs up, and that shares it out to more, which is really, really cool. So we've had Omar says Type 271. This is actually a Type 269 in all its rusty glory. Helios 369 has given us, says hello FRK from AF, France. Sorry, nice to see you, Helios. Thank you so much for tuning in. What we always ask on these, this is kind of a live and a Q&A. So if you've got any questions about camper vans, about traveling, about camper van conversion, please make sure to put it down in the comments down below, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. There's 70 of you watching right now. Be really cool if you double tap that screen. That will give the video a like, and then we go from there. A friend of mine says, Eric, this is Eric, he says, that hair has taken 20 years off you. Yes, I have just shaved my beard off today because I went to a fancy dress party cosplaying as Marty McFly. And if you go onto our Instagram stories at Coombe Valley Campers, you will see a picture of myself and my wife as Marty McFly and Jennifer, Marty McFly's girlfriend from the movies Back to the Future. So I have Omar Type 271. He says, from Garland, Texas. Nice to see you, Omar. Mohammed Zaki says something. Can't read that. Melissa Leonard says, I'd watch you do anything handsome. Thank you very much, Melissa. Joseph Rossen says, are all of the Volkswagen vans standard transmission? No. Maybe pre-70. A lot of them are manual transmission. And I can't remember the exact year they swapped over, but they did actually do this in an automatic, and I know Beetles was semi-automatic as well. But yes, the bay window and the early Type 25s or Type 25s were available in a automatic transmission as well. Yes, I've driven one. They're amazing vans to drive, actually. The 2-litre air-cooled automatic transmissions are actually really, really nice. So if you are watching and you want to get involved in the comments but you don't know what to say, I always ask, what are you drinking? I have a cup of tea in my Coombe Valley Campers mug. And there you go, you can definitely tell the image is flipped right now. A Guzan Art says, where do you live? I live down in East Sussex in England. So I'm going to get my glovies on. And normally with this stuff, you have to double glove because you're using an abrasive and also using a solvent. So I generally tend to double glove. That's if I have enough for this evening. I might have to get some more. Yes, I've just spotted some on my toolbox over there. So yeah, what we're going to do is double glove and we're going to get straight into it. And like I said, I'm going to be using a product called CLR. It's a product I can only find on Amazon, and it's a product that I first found in America, and I learnt through American forums actually. Taxi driver says, good evening, Leigh, from me and the cats. Good evening. Wayne Robinson's, evening, Leigh. I'm drinking a tea as well. Nice work. Who else have we got? Omar says, once the patina is treated with CLR, what comes next? Polishing it or leaving it dull? So my plan is to polish it. And then I am going to be using potentially a product from an American YouTuber called Derek Bieri or Vice Grip Garage, and he has like a patina preserver. It's like a clear coating. It's not permanent. You can either spray it on or sponge it on, because I'm very keen on bringing this back to a patina finish, OG paint finish, and then preserving it as best as possible. I don't really want to do a shiny gloss clear over the whole body. There you go, nice green solution there. CLR, this is called. One last swig of tea before I get really dirty. So what I'm going to do... Oh, we've got some more comments. Eeyore and friends. Oh, so Oguzan says, oh, good. I'm living in London, in Fulham. Eeyore and friends says, very cool. Bacon's Edit said, hi. Dub says, did you know that you had the same paint on that T2 as the one in Back to the Future? Correct. Wasn't it the Libyans? Taxi driver says, a nice large stein of hot chocolate on the go here. Rad. Joseph Rossen says, have you tried SOS pads? No, I haven't. Actually, so far, I've found that this works quite well. Right, there you go, that's dripping out. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to attack these areas, and it's areas that hopefully you can see if I bring you a bit closer. There you go. Whoops, I do apologise. There we go. Right, so I'm letting the CLR do its work, and what you'll notice straight away is this yellow here is coming out a lot brighter, and this patch here will start to disappear. With just a very, very mild abrasive, and that is going to remove the rusty areas and not remove too much paint, or if any, because there's no paint removal on that so far. But there you go, look, that patch has already started to go. That white started to get brighter. I sound like I'm on the shopping channel, don't I? I'm trying to sell CLR to people, that's not the case. There you go. This is already starting to come back up. And what I've got is a rag back there, and I'll sort of gently wipe off areas. There you go, and it's taken off. Let's say if you were just polishing this paint up, you would see white residue coming off it. You can just start to see it here, look. But what I'll do, I'll start doing it a bit on the blue as well, and you'll start to see that blue come right up and the rust stains becoming removed from it. And I could go straight into a paint stripper. There you go, you can sort of see the blue coming off there with it. What I'll do, I'll just wipe it down with this rag so you can sort of see the difference straight away. So there you go, that rust staining has gone from here and it's started to bring that white up, and all the rust is starting to go. I haven't dipped it back in, haven't dipped it back into the CLR yet either, so I'm just using what's on the mitt. So what I'll do, let's say we'll run to about here, so we'll concentrate on this area, and see this is all orange up here and up top, it's creeping up to up top. I will try if I just apply some of the product first. There you go. Now I know I'm not selling this stuff, but if anybody else was watching this on a shopping channel, would you be buying CLR and copious amounts of Scotch-Brite straight away? Seeing the results here. Can I be a host on QVC? So Joseph Rosson says, works fast, hopefully you won't have to use the entire roll. Well, I think I'm on roll number 2, bearing in mind, yeah, check that out already. That's the old, that's the new. And I'll bring you in for a closer look later. I have used one roll already, because I've done approximately a third of the van. And so the reason I buy that off Amazon is because it comes out a bit cheaper. Not a big fan of buying everything off Amazon, but needs must when you're trying to build a project or you've got more than one project on the go. Let's see if I can bring back some of that really rusty paint. So taxi driver says, what is CLR? I'll show you the bottle again. So CLR is this stuff here. Again, you're reading it backwards probably, but CLR, calcium, lime and rust remover. Blasts calcium, dissolves lime, zaps rust stains. Covered under one or more of US paint number, blah. Shower heads, tubs, sinks, porcelain, chrome, stainless steel, recommended for toilet bowls, concrete bricks, coffee makers, washing machines, all sorts of things. But I used to read a lot of the Samba.com, which is like a air-cooled Volkswagen forum. And I was obsessed with a thread about OG paintwork or original paintwork, and so I used to obsess over seeing their methods of restoring paintwork, etc, etc. And that's where I got the hint for CLR. Right, so this is already coming right back. So this area of this window ledge that I uncovered yesterday, because I removed the window yesterday, was particularly bad, and that is a very light go over there. And I'll bring you in a minute so you can see. So Vintage Excellence says, hey, I'm building a 78 Westy in my shop now. Nice one. Dubs says, could you spray with filled plastic bottle and gently DA it? I would say DAing it was too aggressive. I'm very happy to do this manually because A, keeps me out of the house, B, keeps me out of trouble, and C, it's very gentle on the paintwork. I've not rubbed through anywhere yet knowingly. So there you go. Let me bring you in for this first bit. Joseph Rosson says it's everywhere in the States, CLR that is, yeah. Yeah, I guess it's more of a household product from what I can tell from the tub. But yeah, you can get it on Amazon in the UK now. But yeah, I'm not looking to strip any of the paint. I'm looking to just remove the stains, because this is the original white here. And by what this is telling me is it was painted at some stage in yellow. You can see how bright that yellow's coming up, and then blue on the bottom. From experience working on this van for a little while now, that yellow paint is a totally different makeup to the blue. The blue comes off quite easily, but the yellow is more tough. So I have to be very, very careful on the yellow bits. Right, so I'm going to start working on the blue a bit, and then I'll do the full reveal. So you can kind of see how this is stained and, you know, slightly rusty. My aim is to just get all of the staining off first, and then I go back in with a fresh piece of Scotch-Brite. You can already see how that's actually removing some of the blue as well. Yeah, my aim is to go back in with a Scotch-Brite and Baratine Paint Panther paint and varnish remover. So Vintage Excellence says, I'm a pro restoration shop. Tech tip, you can DA with 3M Trizact 3000 grit and it will bring that paint back. Nice. 409 works great as well, says Omar, Type 271. Brilliant. Vintage Excellence, thanks so much. Like I said, I'm here just in my home garage. My actual business is converting modern vans rather than restoring camper vans. So this is just my passion project. And because it is just after 8 PM here in the UK and my kids are just about to go to bed, if I start using a DA, I know Mrs. Coombe Valley Campers is going to be a little pissed with me. So, yes. Right. Let's bring you in real quick. Oh, very nice. Vintage Excellence says I do very expensive air-cooled Porsches. Very nice too, young man. Right. So, if I spin that round. There you go. So, this is what we started with. All of this. So, the window frame, despite being quite pitted, is actually in really good order. Better than this one, although this one hasn't got a hole through it yet. And do excuse the light, it gets better over there. But you can just see from this to that with what, 10 minutes work, if that? And then, so this is almost what it was like before, this bit, and then it goes into this bit that I've just cleaned with CLR. So now I'm gonna go into, yeah, check that out. Even that, the paint has actually revived, bearing in mind that's what it looked like. So yeah, and that's driver's door. And again, I'm going to keep all of the scars, and you just wait until you see what this comes out as. It's actually really quite cool. If I go around the back, in fact I can't see it, I've tucked the van right up against it, but all of this scarring actually comes out really quite nicely. Joseph Rosson says, looks great, glad it's not too pitted. Yeah, it's not too bad, actually. So, I'm going to change tub. Oh, we've gone for a different angle there, haven't we? Oh, no, that's about the same. You're on like a magnetic. So, I've got another tub here, which I'm going to give a quick wipe out, because that has got some very much dried out paint stripper in there. And then I'll put some of this next product in there. Now I might actually have to open a door because this stuff can get quite fumey quite quickly. So fresh ice cream tub, or takeaway tub, and this is the other product I'm using. This is Baratine Paint Panther Paint and Varnish Remover. Now this is, from what I can tell, the strongest or at least most effective paint stripper I can get in the UK. We used to use, gosh, it wasn't Hammerite. What was the stuff we used to use? I can't think of it now. Anyway, about 10-15 years ago, the paint stripper, Nitromores, that's it. Nitromores was the paint stripper we used to use in the UK. And that, they took out the really good active ingredient out of that in the UK about 15 years ago. Yeah, taxi driver says Nitromores. They took out the active ingredient out of it and it's just crap now. So this Paint Panther stuff is the best stuff I can find through different reviews and things. So it's looking very glutinous. So I'm literally going to spread it on my bit of scotch there. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to open the door. And I'm just going to sort of spread it on thin layer and then just let it do its thing for a minute. And I'll come back and start hitting that, but in the meantime I'm going to go and open the door because I forgot how smelly that stuff is. Bear with us 1 minute, squeeze past the camera. Right, a bit of airflow. Through here now. Right, so now that's started to work its way a little bit. Joseph Rosson says, were you able to salvage all the glass? Yes, I was, actually. Right, you're going to have to come in close to see this because I've just wiped that 3 times already. Okay, with my restrictions so far, that's about... So you need to look round here. Yeah, check it out. I'm actually seeing some yellow drips, but that is literally working immediately. And all that glorious original blue, white paint is already coming off. Now people might be thinking, what about the white paint underneath? Russ 104 is in, evening sir. The original VW paint, I don't quite know what they made it out of, but it is tough as old boots. Really, really strong stuff. And because it's been on there and curing for, what did we figure out earlier? 59 years, something like that. 1969, this thing. 56 years. So this thing's been curing on here for 56 years. And it's not going anywhere. And generally VW paint's pretty good anyway. Right, there you go. So already we're starting to get the white through. And yes, I'm fully aware it's a very long and tedious job. I've already done one whole side of the bus already. In fact, I've done the front, the whole side, and most of the rear. There you go. And the thing is, this doesn't lose its abrasiveness. It just fills up with paint real quick, especially when it's nice and thick here. Now, if I remember right, there was less blue on the other side, so it was a little easier to clean, or at least to strip. But yeah, you can see already how effective that is. I'm going to get, let's say, a 6-inch square done, then I'll wipe it with a rag and come back. But you can literally see the brush marks in this where someone hand painted it, which is kind of nuts. But hey, needs must. This could have been painted back in the 70s, back in the 80s, back in the 90s, who knows. Somebody maybe just spiffed it up a little bit to sell it in the early 90s, who knows. But what I'm thankful for is they didn't do any prep work. And they used what is probably a household paint, not an automotive paint, which means it's done 2 things. It's preserved what's underneath it, and it's made my job of removing it that touch easier. Because if this was automotive paint and I was trying to... If this was automotive paint and I was trying to bring it back to the OG white stuff underneath, then it would be a little harder to do. Right, so as I'm coming over the tougher areas, I'm just concentrating on them a little bit, not too long, because I don't want to burn through. I'm going to go right-handed for a second. I don't want to burn through the original paint, but I have accidentally left this paint remover, paint stripper solution on the VW paint, and it didn't touch it. I think the only way you get rid of the VW paint is completely sanding it off, or sandblasting it. There you go. We are making some moves, people. There you go. Let's say that's pretty much a 6 by 6 inch square. Just getting rid of the last little stubborn bits. There you go. That is one heavily loaded. Who else have we got in? BWS says, evening everyone. Jason Small says hi. Joseph Rossen, I wonder how old that blue paint is. Yeah. Russ says, think of it as protecting the original paint. Exactly, yeah. Taxi driver says, where did you get the van from? I'll talk about that in a second. Jason Small says, can you not sand it down with a fine sandpaper? I could, but I'm trying to preserve the paint. So all I need to do is remove the old stuff. And sanding, you know, for anybody who's done this sort of thing before, if you just go over a little too hard with an abrasive, instant regret, because you're then eating into the original paint. And I don't know about you guys, but I watch YouTube a lot. And I get into all sorts of channels. And one of the channels I've got into is a guy called Baumgartner Restoration. And here's a guy, and again, another guy based in the States, and he restores fine art, or art. And I'm going to go back to that CLR for a second. Yeah, because it's more fluid and liquidy. Yeah, this Baumgartner Restoration restores fine art paintings. And what he's done there is give me a real insight into how you strip or clean whilst protecting the layers underneath. There you go, check that out. That is the original paint coming back, and I know it's not perfect. I appreciate it's not perfect. But look at that already. Right, I'm going to take you off the camera mount so you can see. Sunsets and skinny dipping says, you're working late. I do. We do these lives generally 8 till 9 PM on a Sunday. It's normally when you find folk at home are sort of chilling, maybe on the couch with your phones. My kids are going to bed, and I get an hour to myself in the garage, and I can hang with you guys. So that's why I do it late. Joseph Rossen says, will you keep the van after the restoration or sell it? Oh, this is mine. I've never owned a bay outright before. This is my first. I've restored many, worked on hundreds. This one's mine. Mac the Pity says, are you going to put the original engine back in, or are you going to install a more modern engine? This didn't come with the original engine. It had a few important parts missing from this, the engine being one of them, but I have since sourced a 1600 twin port upright engine for this, so super happy. Taxi Driver says, look fab, thank you very much. Now going back to Taxi Driver's previous comment, where did I get it from? I got this for a friend of mine. His name's Anton. He's a guy in the UK who regularly goes over to America, finds a car, fills it with stuff, finds another car, fills it with stuff, then finds a container, fills it with the cars and the stuff, and ships them all back to the UK. And this bay came back, I think, purely as a mobile container to ship stuff back in. I don't know. Anyway, just before lockdown, he brought it round to my workshop and said, Leigh, take a look over this, please, because I want to know if it's worth selling or not. Because I'm sure he got it for quite cheap. I said, oh, of course I will. Lockdown happens. This van took a bit of a back seat, but I go back into the workshop quite regularly during lockdown and I say to Anton, look, every time I walk past this thing, I'm falling in love with it more and more and more. Can I buy it? We came up with a price and now it's mine. And then 5 years later, well, I've been kind of working on this on and off for the last 18 months, but now it's mine. And now it kind of looks like this. It's all stripped out. I've started putting things back together. There's a collection of parts in here. Down here, you can see all the glass that I've taken out. Started cleaning up the inside. You can see my before and after on the paintwork on the inside. And yeah, just generally making it right. I've covered most of it in all of these videos live. And I have done one whole YouTube video on this. In fact, this process, but I know it's nice for you guys to see. So going back to the paintwork, so this is what we've been able to do. This is the original paint. Obviously, we started with this earlier, and we've now got this. So I've just got to do it a heck of a lot more. But I have faith, because like I said, I've already done a lot of the van, and this whole front of the van was brown. And again, if you go onto our social media or you go onto our YouTube, you can see the videos of this before it started. And I know it looks pitted, I know it looks dented, but I'm keeping that character. I'm just trying to bring back as much of this original white paint. There you go, there's kind of before and there's after. Before and after. And this is what I've been able to just strip off. Just got to do the whole side of the van now. But this didn't take too long, did it? I'm, what, half hour into my live? And I've done a lot of talking and some work. It's come out all right, isn't it? It's come out all right. Right, let's clip. My apologies. My apologies. I did that before. The flip camera round button is in exactly the same place as the reverse camera button on here. So can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I hope you can. I've just had 5 comments saying sound is gone, mute, question mark. Yes, Sergio says yes, that's got it, all good. Yeah, my apologies. So yeah, on my screen that I can see, it's got the flip camera icon, and right below that is the mute icon. And bearing in mind I'm wearing gloves, I got it wrong, so my apologies. So, right, back onto, now which way do you want to go? I want a hands up if you want to continue this way, or a thumbs up if you want to start working down. What do you reckon? Hands up wave if you want to continue working this way, or a thumbs up icon if you want to start working down. What do you want to do? We've already done this sort of 6 to 8 inch square of white paint. Shall we maybe work up? So that's a wave. What did I say? A wave was moving further along, didn't I? Well, modern R6, yeah, a wave there. Wayne Robinson says a wave. Yeah, okay, I'm doing that. John Small says a thumbs up to start working down. So it's a 2 versus 1 at the minute. If you do a finger up like that, just a normal digit, I can start working up this pillar, but that's kind of white already. That's okay. I'm seeing more waves along. Russ 104 says along. So let's start doing that then. I'm going to see if I can just adjust my tripod so I can start working this way. There we go. Right, do excuse me. There we are then. So, going to start working on this bit of blue then, straight away. I've got a fresh bit of Scotch Brite. Some more paint stripper. Let's keep going. Super stuff. Well, it's been quite popular on the views, so thank you very much everybody who's been doing us a thumbs up. I really, really appreciate that. It's always different. I'm trying lots of things on YouTube at the moment. And if you are new and you haven't actually subscribed to the channel, or you catch us on live every week but you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We are on our road to 100,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you were to hit a subscribe there, and then that would make this video get shipped out there to more and more people. That would help our channel get viewed more. Being at 100k is a huge milestone. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet already, I'd very much appreciate that. Right, so we're moving along, and already you can see how effective that is and how loaded that is. To paint a vehicle, you start from the top down or you face uneven paint. ABC, I'm not painting. I am removing hand painted paint on this 1969 VW Westphalia, because I'm trying to preserve the original paint underneath. I've already sort of restored this bit down to white. The whole van, if you can see behind me, is a mix of rust and old hand paint. So what I'm trying to do is bring all this white paint back to preserve it. So no, I'm not painting. I am paint restoring, so to speak. Dan said hi. Hi Dan. ABC says, haha, good luck. Hope you don't have a real job. Well, I do. And YouTube is part of it, ABC. So thank you so much for your comments, because you doing comments like that just makes my life easier. So thank you so much, my man. Russ104 says, I've watched some Hampus Grandstrom videos. I think he uses something like the bleeding iron type wheel cleaner all over vehicles to take off surface rust. It surprised me how effective it was. I should look into that. Bleeding iron, yes. So a company we used in the past called Valet Pro, they use a product called, well, it's called Dragon's Breath, but it's all the same. I think it's just called like an iron fallout remover, and works really, really well. ABC says, I see, fair enough. Modern R6 is maybe think before you speak. Easy now, we're all friends. 420 News says, is it a splitty? It's not, it's a bay. It's a 1969 bay, so it's an early one. So it's still got features such as wide 5 wheel lugs, you know, wheel brakes and drums and hubs. I think it's a 5x205 stud pattern, if I remember right. And then around 69, 70 was what they called the crossover period. And you get some features of early, some features of late bay. So they're known as the crossover. But yeah, I wanted a bay. I wanted an early. This is kind of ticking all the boxes for me, for sure. There you go. So the main bit's off, and I'm working on more of these stubborn areas. So I think I'm going to either ditch this piece of Scotch-Brite or just move it to the next bit, because then the abrasive's a bit more effective at picking up the old blue. The old blue. There you go. Working through it slowly. Working through it slowly. Picking up the little bits here and there. Trying to make a nice even line. Now it will be a bit more interesting when we get to this back end, because there's more of what I've been calling the scarring, like where the paint has got some water underneath it and started to split the paint in the areas, and you see that it comes out in a really nice sort of patina underneath. So yeah. So Dan says, be careful, that must be pretty strong stuff. It's remove your 80s hair. I know, right? For those of you who've seen our social media, the reason I am so clean shaven today is because I went to a fancy dress party today as Marty McFly, one of my all-time favourite movie characters. Hunter Luxton says crossover with 71-72. There we go. Yeah, I got my date slightly off. Thank you very much. Hunter ABC says auto glim tart and glue remover would suit this job. Do you know what? It might do. This is currently, I'll show you what I'm using, because if you've not seen the beginning of the video, this is what I'm using right now. This is Baratine Paint Panther paint and varnish remover. So yeah, it's pretty strong stuff, but it does the job, and it does the job without being too harsh. Like you can see, this is not a paint stripper that you leave on, it bubbles up and then you scrape it away. It's active, but it's not too strong, so it sort of strips away 40 layers at a time. You work it and play with it. There you go. So I'm going to stop about there. I started about there, so just done that section. We'll give that a clean up, shall we? I'm going to have to find some more gloves too. Right. Give that a bit of a wipe down. Where's my rag? There. That is not too shabby, is it? That is not too shabby at all. Thinking I'm going to work on a little this orange area here. And then maybe bring you a bit closer as well. This is cool though. Taxi driver, is it possible to put an automatic gearbox in? Probably. I mean, it's possible for anything really, isn't it? But would it stay true to what it was? Would it be worth it? I don't know. 420 News says, do you have a roof box to carry money you will need to spend on it? Why do you think I'm doing this manually at night on a Sunday in my own garage? Because A, it's a very long-term project. B, I don't have the sort of money to give it to somebody else to restore. And C, it stays quiet whilst my family are in the house. If I start using like DAs and automatic tools and things like that, start to get real noisy real quick. So this is the sort of job I can do. It's a sort of thing I can do and see good results from immediately. And it's quite therapeutic, and I get to hang with you guys. Joseph Rosson says, excellent job, thank you. Coombe Valley, is that anything to do with the Coombe Gibbet near Canterbury, Hungerford? No, Coombe Valley is like a, I'm not going to say national park, but it's a local park area near where I live. And I had in my head when I started Coombe Valley Campus 10 years ago that I could have an industrial estate on the new road they were building in the Coombe Valley area. So I thought Coombe Valley Campers, great. Anyway, I'm now half hour's drive away from Coombe Valley, but I like the name, so it's stuck. There we go. Gibbet. No, still not Canterbury, Hungerford. No, we're down in East Sussex, my man. Right, I'm going to go and find my other rubber glovies. Bear with us one moment. Marvel at the paint that has been removed thus far. And my gloves. Different kind of blue though. so if you didn't catch the video earlier, I'm actually having to double up. Whoops. Junior Rodriguez, or J.R. Rodriguez, says RSP. What's that mean? Joseph Rosson says auto restoration can be relaxing. Yeah, do you know what? I have a pretty busy job. I run the business and everything else in between. I've got a young family. So I brought this home so I can have an hour or two here on a Sunday, just to sort of escape and just chill out, like I say, hang with you guys. Aero the Fulf says, is that a VW bus? If so, the new ones look silly to me. Your thoughts? GPA Woody says, how will you protect the original paint surface? Well, I'll answer Aero the Fulf. Yes, it's a 69 Westphalia. I know you can just about see it. You can tell by those scoops in the back that it's an early bay. New VW buses, the new Transporter, that share the same bones of a Ford Transit. Do you know what? I don't agree wholeheartedly that it was the best decision Volkswagen ever made. I've driven the new van. I've even done a video on the new van. That's good, isn't it? They've lasted very long. I've even done a video on the new van, and I don't think it's that bad. Lots of people are hung up over it, but literally every manufacturer, car manufacturer in the world now, shares parts, shares platforms, shares designs with every other manufacturer out there. There's not many just purely solo car companies out there just making a product. And in today's world, if you want to stay profitable, or at least still make money, sometimes you've got to shave down your costs. So Volkswagen have done that and produced a van in conjunction with a company that sell 4 times as many vans as Volkswagen do per year. It might even be something like 7 times the amount of vans that Volkswagen do per year. So Transit know how to make a van. They don't necessarily know how to make a reliable engine sometimes, but they're not a Volkswagen, because Volkswagens have got their own problems. But to answer your question, I don't mind them. I think people will come round to them eventually, much like they did when the T5 replaced the T4, the T5.1 replaced the T5, the T6, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's just my opinion, my man. GPA Woody says, how will you protect the original paint? I'm going to put some sort of paint preserver on it. I know you can do things like boiled linseed oil and everything else, but I want to use like a patina preserver, so it will give it not a shine, but a sheen. And waterproof the vehicle. Gosh, that is thick. That is thick right here. Was my answer about Volkswagen's really grey and boring, by the way? It was a bit PC of an answer, wasn't it? It wasn't a yes or a no. It's like I'd skirted the question like a politician. Right, so that is now a layer of paint and varnish remover across the whole car, or the whole top bit. You can already see how much lighter that's getting. Shall I bring you closer? Right, that'll have to be like that. Then I can show you. Oopsie, I do apologise. There you go. Russ says, I had meant to ask if you have any buying advice for T25. I keep thinking my T4 is a bit new. I love a T25. Anybody who knows me or anybody who's known our channel long enough will know that Type 25 is my favourite, always will be. Look out for body rot is the main thing. Buy diesel over a petrol. And buy the best you can afford. And also, if you're not familiar with them, take somebody with you who is. And I mean really familiar with them. Somebody who owns one, or somebody who works on them, somebody who's restored one. Because a lot of people get duped by shiny paint. But if you know a Type 25, you know a Type 25, and you know when they start looking wrong and all the panel gaps and everything else. Yeah. But they're a good cheap van. They're the biggest inside out of all the Volkswagen vans. They're widest. There's loads of different engine options for them. You put modern diesel, Subaru, petrol, diesel, flat 4, air cooled. They're just a great car, and they drive great. Do they make 25, 26 VW vans? What do you mean? T25 or 25, 26 plate? I don't know. Ero the Fulf says, oh, I'm gonna check out your video on the topic, but I'm with you. I'm not a fan of the new bus, let alone the new Beetles, although the all-wheel drive manual transmissions Beetles do rip. Yeah, what were they? The R Cup or whatever it was, Beetle. Look at this, we're ripping through this now. You put a little bit of paint stripper on it to sort of get it working. This is going pretty well. How long have we been going? 51 minutes. There you go, you can see, like, if I dedicated a whole day to this job that I'm doing right now, I could probably do this whole side. Quite easy. I could probably do this whole side by a lunchtime if I concentrated on it, put some good music on, put a movie on in the background, whatever. But yeah, you've got to be wary of the fumes. My garage door's open now. So yeah, concentrating on the little bits. I feel like I'm doing the reverse of what Bob Ross would be. You know, I'm removing a pretty little tree right there. All that good stuff. Are you reluctant to do work on customers' vans that have been part converted when they approach you having started but not finishing? Yes. But at the same time, I encourage people to start working on their own vans, and if it does get too difficult, approach an expert or a professional or somebody who's experienced in the job, because not everybody knows everything all the time. So yes, you might be a practically minded person and you can maybe lay some sound deadening, do the ply panels, maybe even have a go at the carpeting, which is wicked, and again we encourage that. But if you have no experience in electrics and this is your first time and you know nothing about them, it could be potentially dangerous, so don't give it a try. So yes, vans that have been converted badly by another converter or another expert are normally dangerous, and we either say no or in some cases condemn them because they've been converted so badly. We've done that a handful of times in my camper van career so far, if you want to call it that. But generally, if someone says, I've done all the work, now I want you to help me put the rock and roll bed in because you've got a 2-poster lift, or I want you to put the diesel heater in because I don't have the confidence to drop the fuel tank without messing it up, of course we will do that. That is not a problem, because we've done all the videos to give you the advice. You know, we've pretty much covered, apart from fitting a pop top, fitting 240 volts and fitting gas, all those are 3 jobs that I would prefer a professional to do for you. We've given you all the information you may well need to convert your own van. So yeah. We're going to be coming to a bit of an end soon. I'm going to probably get up to about here and then start cleaning up, because it's getting to 9 o'clock here in the UK and I'm going to want to go inside. In fact, I want a cup of tea. I was about to say go inside and have a cup of tea, but I've got one. What are you guys drinking, by the way? We normally ask that question. That is a very cold cup of tea. Yeah, because it's coming up to 9. I normally do these for an hour. But if you want me, or if you want to see me continuing this journey with this van, with this paintwork, please subscribe. Maybe hit the notification so every time I do a live or you know, I do a video on this van, you'll get to see the progress firsthand. I plan to do most of the work on this van on the channel live. So yeah, give it a try, give us a subscribe. We're on the road to 100k. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Do you know how cool I would be in the eyes of my kids if their daddy had a play button? Help a guy out. Hunter Luxton says, owning an old VW bus is like time travelling. The look, the noise, the ride is a trip to the past, albeit an expensive trip, yeah. Joseph Rossen says, do they currently make VW vans? Yes. The newest van is the VW Transporter T7. Andy Andalon says, I'm literally going to start my car soon in like an hour. What grit do I start with? My car's in the same condition too. I don't have a grit anything. This is just a green Scotch-Brite. I also have, funnily enough, I have the soap pads. In America, they call it triple 000, 40, quad 0, steel wire wool. This is actually quite good stuff for reviving paint as well. But this is just green Scotch-Brite, CLR, and then a paint and varnish remover. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll finish this bit, and then I've got some G3 compound. So what we could do is just give the OG paint a bit of a buff as well. What do you reckon? And see what we can save that was under this blue. See if we can actually get a bit of shine and a sheen back on this. That'd be quite cool, wouldn't it? Somebody says lemon Fanta, good stuff. Modern R6, yeah, lemon Fanta. Mr. Palange, you need a haircut? I actually do. This is long for me. Modern R6, a lot of these are getting turned into mobile bars selling gin and coffee now. Yes. Dub says, just on tea tonight, we'll be down soon to visit the showroom. Thank you very much. Taxi driver says, is the T7 the same body as the Ford Custom? Yes, pretty much. 99.9% of the VW Transporter and the Ford Transit are shared parts. You know, when I test drove one for the channel, I think I found 2 VW logos apart from the ones on the front grille and the steering wheel. I think I found the VW logo on the headlight. And that was about it, really. Right, just finishing off this bit, trying to get the last bits of stub and blue off. Concentrate on this bit. There you go. There you go. Get this little slither out of here. You've kind of got a straight line there. Look. Stubborn bit right here. There you go. Cool. My gloves have about had it for layer number 4 as well. So I need a new bit of Scotch-Brite, some CLR, and a rag, and maybe some compound. Right, take that off my fingers. Yeah, it gets quite stanky quick. El Bein Machin says, I recommend turbo spray paint. And he also said, hi. Hi. Oof. Right. So I need the other rag. I need a fresh bit of Scotch-Brite, my scissors. And then we can see how this last bit of white paint came up. It's very satisfying doing this. Really satisfying. Alright, getting all this excess off. Right, there's the rag. Oh, that looks pretty mad, doesn't it? Now, I know that sounds insane, but who could watch hours of that? Probably me. Fucking glove, look at that. Right, get that out of here. I'm now going to use, we're actually at an hour, so normally I'd quit it, but I'm going to use this dirty rag with a bit of cutting compound to just see if I can buff a bit up, because that'll be quite fun. Why not? What have I got to lose, huh? So who knows when this paint last had any sort of cutting compound, polish. How long has it been uncovered? Sorry, how long has it been covered up? What year was this van painted and why? Because it seems like the white was pretty good. Someone just fancy a colour change? Did it go in a carnival? Did it go in a parade? Were they celebrating Ukraine back then? Because this is yellow on top and blue on the bottom. Unless I've got those colours the wrong way around, of course. But yeah, it's a pretty cool bus. It's one of the reasons why I fell in love with it. To anybody else, this is just a rusty junker. And I get it. But for me, this was one of those little hidden gems that everyone was looking past. I thought, you know what, with a bit of time and patience, not a huge amount of money, I could probably bring that back to life. And that's what it's all about. That's what I love. I love the preservation, the restoration. So what I'm going to do, let's see if I can swap you round. You might even get the light glinting off that as I polish it. There you go. I'll sort of stand back here. Is that going to work? Now you can kind of see it's actually getting a bit of a shine. Now it's literally doing it by hand with a dirty rag for 2 seconds. And I'm sure with a proper buffing wheel and some proper compound and a bit more time and patience, this thing will come right back. There you go. Right, I'll show you the final sort of shot, I guess. Oh, let's do some comments. Modern R6, when the rock and roll bed goes in a transporter, do they just drill through your ply, subfloor and insulation, then treat the van floor mat, or is it best bolting before the floor goes down? So using a rock and roll bed, only buy a crash tested or a TUV tested bed and use the proper chassis mounting plates. Don't ever rely on just the metal skin of the floor. But yes, it's one of the last things that goes in unless you're building a custom interior, and then it's one of the first things that goes in. But I can go through that another day. Right. John says, what colour? Love a 2 colour. Well, this colour, I can't actually remember the name of the colour. I'm looking down here because that's the VIN plate for it. It doesn't show the colour. But I'm trying to go from 2 colour to this. Now check that out. It's actually got a bit of gloss in it. That's what it was like when I started. And after an hour, we're bringing it back. There you go, you can see the direct comparison. That's the bit I've worked on today. So I went up to about here with CLR, and then the rest of that's been paint stripper, Scotch-Brite, and there's the remnants of my stuff. So there you go. So hopefully, with a bit more elbow grease, this will all look like that. There you go, you can see the bits of yellow, and they're sort of evident everywhere. There you go. But obviously where I've used a bit of CLR, that's come right back. And then I'll bring you in quite close. This paint, if this was to go on a car you were trying to sell, of course, you wouldn't be able to sell it with paint like that. But for a van that is this old, that is the only paint, the only spray paint job this has ever had, which is the factory one. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Russ says there are two whites there, or is it just the lighting? No, it's just the lighting. So that's pre-CLR'd white, so it's all dull. This is the treated white. So this is all one colour. It came from the factory, one colour. Yeah. But it's cool, eh? I've got to remove the door trims, I've got to remove this window glass, etc, etc. And then it should. This needs another buff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Very, very happy with it. Very happy with it. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please double tap that screen. It will give the thumbs up. Really appreciate it. You keep me going. I really enjoy hanging out and chatting with you on a Sunday evening. And I'm glad you like what we do. If you want to see more, make sure you sort of hit a like and subscribe on the channel. It will notify you when you have any of these videos come up in your feed in the future. Thank you for being a top fan. Thank you for being a supporter. Thank you for being a watcher. And we'll see you next time. Have a great week, people. Bye-bye.